more information on the topic, Mr. Larry.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Larry McGee, and I would like to start with a question. Because a lot of people may say, okay, well, child abuse, the family and the home, why focus on that? The president, that's the real cause of this. Congress, the Senate, there's where the problem lies. You're talking about babies, why focus on the children? I like to ask a simple question to get us around to the logic of the importance of this particular portion of the workshops. Do you think this problem can be solved or turned around overnight? How many think this problem can be turned around overnight? Tomorrow, all the problems in the world are gone. No? Too big. So if we're going to solve the problems in the world today, it is not going to be a short-term thing, but a long-term thing. Anything that is long-term represents the future. What is our future? The children. That is the importance of the workshop here today. There are some immediate things that we could do, but it is going to be a long-term process turning this thing around. It is something that we have to look towards the future to get accomplished entirely. Children are the future. Okay, so we've gotten that far. We need to focus on the children. How do we improve the children?
Education.
Education. The foundation of any person, man, woman, or child, is character. The foundation of any person, man, woman, or child, is character. There are 6 major contributing factors to character. 6. I like to walk through them in reverse just to emphasize the importance of what we're doing here today by focusing on the family. The 6th is influences. The 5th is choices. The 4th, environment. The 3rd, community. Number 2, family. And number 1, genetics. But of course, those two are intimately intertwined. There's only so much a person can do with regard to genetics. If you've already produced a child, you can't reverse that. That is what it is. So we have to practice acceptance with regard to that. We can't control what we've already produced, but we can control what we do from that point forward. Now that we've produced the child, it's time for us to man up. We have a family. And that is the importance of what we're talking about here today. 90% of what we see going on in society, which we deem to be wrong, comes from unhealthy families. Families where children have been abused. I had a conversation just recently with someone very close to me, and we were talking about our past. And he was saying, well, you know, I did a whole bunch of that because, you know, I was real angry about the situation that was going on at home with my mother. He's a different man now through the power of character education. But he was murdering at one point, and he was saying that it came from what he was experiencing at home. The negative effects of character within a society, I can admit to the same thing. When I was involved in activity that got me incarcerated at 14 years old and sentenced to 23 years in prison, what predisposed me to that was what I was experiencing from an unhealthy standpoint at home. I was angry. I was very angry and hadn't been taught how to handle it correctly. So that's the importance of what we're talking about here today. If we're talking about addressing the problem from a realistic standpoint, it starts with the children. And with any person, if we're talking about improving a person, it starts with their character. And it all begins with the family. Let's get into some real world examples. The effects of negative character within the family, fear is one example. What's a real world example of that? Fear? It could branch out into many different directions. What I like to cover, though, is distrust. Trust within a person is either built, nourished, and fostered within the child in the home, or it's discouraged. Starting from the home. Every child starts out dependent. In order for our society to work effectively, there has to be an interdependency, people working together. So his very first experiences with dependency, with distrust, starts with the family, his mother and his father, that's either there or not there, who are responsible for providing food, clothing, and shelter from a basic standpoint. If he doesn't receive that, let's say for an example, we're talking about character, irresponsibility would be negative character. If he doesn't experience his needs being fulfilled within a family where he gets his food, where he gets his clothing, where he gets his shelter, and he says to himself, well, I have to get it on my own, what he's essentially saying is he can't trust other people. He can't depend on other people. He takes that same attitude with him out into society, where he's expected to depend on this system to provide for his needs. I'm going to depend on the system to provide for my needs. My mother didn't care enough about me to do it. My father didn't care enough about me to do it. I have to feed myself. I have to clothe myself. Selfishness started in the home. Distrust for dependency started in the home, and he takes that out into society, where he doesn't trust that society can do it for him either. And so he's willing to do the same thing that he did when he was growing up. I'm going to get food in my mouth the best way I know how, outside of the family. I'm going to get clothing on my back the best way I know how, outside of the family. And when I'm grown and outside of the family, I'm going to get food in my mouth the best way I know how, outside of the rules of society. I'm going to get clothing on my back the best way I know how, outside of the rules of society. It all starts in the home. Fear is one example. Humiliation. Oh, this is a big one. To be reduced to a lower level or made to feel that way, devalued. Please, I am begging, do not talk down to your children. Anybody. But don't talk down to your children. One of the major things that this creates within a person is insecurities. If you have ever dealt with a person who has insecurities, then you know how stressful and how difficult such a relationship can be. It's hard for it to be healthy. You can't point anything out to them. Man, why'd you do that way? You think I can't do anything right. You think you're better than me. No, come on, man. Don't start acting stupid. You think I'm stupid. I don't think you're stupid, man. You just called me stupid. No, I'm not calling you stupid. Calm down, man. Get control of yourself. You don't think I got self-control. And it just keeps going. On and on. And it all starts from this. What they experienced in the family is what bumps back to them. It either creates within a person a healthy internal environment or it damages them. I'd like to explore the definition of that, emotional and psychological damage. Emotions. The seat of the emotions is the heart. Psychological. That comes from a root word, psyche, and it deals with the mind. So what we're talking about is the heart and the mind. It causes damage to the heart and the mind. But how does that manifest itself in society? What is emotional damage? I'm reading now from the self-control unit, and I'll be going to page 30, which speaks about emotions. And let's remember that word damage, emotional damage. It says defining emotions. Defining emotions. Generally speaking, emotions can be categorized as either negative or positive. We're speaking today about negative, at least in my portion. Uncontrolled negative emotions are hurtful, can undermine your growth, development, and your future. They can also damage your interactions. So that's what we're talking about. When we're speaking about emotional damage, we're speaking about people who have been programmed with responses that damage their interactions. Everything we were just speaking about before with the person who's experiencing insecurities, based on what they experienced in the home being humiliated, they can't have a healthy relationship. Everything they do tears the relationship down. That's not to say that there isn't other things as they go along in life that add to it, but it started with the family. Emotional damage is emotions which damage a person's interactions. That's the heart. Psychological damage. What is psychological damage? From a practical standpoint, real world. I'll be taking this from the Building More Excellence unit. This is speaking about the mind, psychological damage. What is psychological damage? And we'll be reading from page 25. And it says negative character traits. This is speaking about the mind. In contrast to positive, beneficial character traits that we just reviewed, negative character traits, such as hatefulness and aggression and disrespect, are harmful to the individual and those around them. These traits promote immoral principles that negatively affect others in their possession. So once again, what we're talking about is stuff that damages a person's ability to interact with people in a way that's peaceful, in a way that's healthy and beneficial. That is what emotional and psychological damage is. It damages a person's ability to interact with people peacefully. Of course, the ripple effect of that all is that it gets perpetuated to the next generation, and that is probably one of the gravest and saddening parts about this whole entire thing, is it just keeps going forward. But to discuss with us how to break the cycle, we'll hear from Mr. Chapman in just a moment. Before that, though, I would like to turn it over to Mr. Anthony to ask questions concerning my portion.
I'd like to get everyone to participate in this question. How do we improve? How do we improve as a group? How do we improve the system as a group? This side. How do we improve the system? Let's say it loud. Education. Education, right? That's how we improve the system. Education, character education. Now, on some of the points that Larry just pointed out, what are some of the negative effects within the family? Some of the negative effects. Let's see how much we retain here.
I just want to say I'm very thankful the Peaceful Solution is talking about the domestic violence. Because the domestic violence, it creates a lot of negative effects. And I tell you, a woman that's stuck in a domestic violence situation don't know what to do. No, they find no help. Sometimes the authority cannot help them unless she's dead or something. But a lot of times you have a lot of single moms that become single moms because they run off to a different state. They become homeless to a different shelter. And then the problem is that they can't afford babysitters, so they're still homeless and stuck in that situation. And out of desperation, they go to other men that are thinking that they find somebody that will help them. Just use them. So you have a lot of crimes after that, because most of the 85% of the people that are in jail come from single parents' home, and it has a big effect on that. And it's a terrible effect. It's a scary effect, especially for a woman.
Exactly. Great point. You know, not knowing. One of the first things you said, not knowing. And when we don't know, you can see the cause. You don't know what to do, what the solution is. You see the problems it could lead to. Let's get one more here. Is the solution, is the problem going to be fixed overnight? No. Yes or no? No. We all agree, but we all agree that with the use and the progressiveness of using this program, it will change the hearts and minds, right? Thank you. Thanks for participating at this time.